Hey folks, thanks for joining today's Splunk Tech Talk Platform Edition. It is 2 o'clock now, but we're going to wait an extra minute or two to let a few extra folks roll in. Some people may be getting done with lunch or maybe just getting ready to go to lunch, honestly, depending on the time zone you're in. But until then, just remember that all lines for this presentation are going to be muted during this session. If you have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A box that you see on your screen, and we will answer those during the Q&A portion or potentially during part of the presentation a little bit as well. If you have any issues with seeing sound or images, please be sure to try some things like clearing your browser cache, try accessing in an incognito window, or potentially switching to a different browser like Chrome or Firefox. We'll give it, again, another minute or two here, and then we'll kick things off. All right, it looks like we've got a pretty good little quorum going now, so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, thanks everyone for joining today. Today we are going to share a bit of information about Cisco AI Canvas and what you can do with this very fascinating and incredibly useful upcoming feature. So to give you a little bit of information ahead of time, my name is Cody Sugg, and I'm a staff product marketing manager here at Splunk. I have worked across the security and platform side of the business for a little bit. Got started doing a bit of my time with some of the other products we have, like Splunk SOAR, and a little bit on asset and risk intelligence. On the platform side now, however, I manage a lot of our content and marketing material for Splunk AI Assistant, Splunk MCP Server, and our featured discussion topic of the day, Splunk AI Canvas. And with me here is my incredibly talented co-host, Lizzie Lee.
Thanks, Cody. Hi, everyone. My name is Lizzie. I've been with Splunk for almost 8 years now. Most of my time is spent on dashboarding capabilities, but recently I've taken on the Splunk integration into AI Canvas. And so, excited to talk with you all about that today.
All right. So for today's agenda, we're going to cover a handful of core topics. We're going to kick things off by kind of looking at the current state of IT operations and some of the challenges around that. Then we'll dive into what is Cisco AI Canvas, how it works, and then talk about some of the use cases and top challenges that you can tackle. And then Lizzie will share a demo for AI Canvas so you can see all this in action. And then finally, we'll wrap things up with a Q&A session at the very end. So before we get right into the meat and potatoes of the presentation, we wanted to gauge the audience a little bit with a quick poll question. So to what degree do you use AI in your day-to-day work? Like, a lot of us now have reached that point where we're using AI pretty regularly across the board, but some people may be getting started in their AI journey, so maybe you're not using it every day. Maybe you're using it, every now and then. Or maybe you work in an industry that doesn't actually let you use AI that much due to specific regulations or restrictions you might have. Just again, kind of curious to see what our audience's current AI use looks like. We'll give you all a minute or two here to answer that poll, and then we'll see what the results are. All right, looks like the majority of our audience has submitted their answers, so let's see. All right, this is about what I was expecting. So it seems like a lot of you are frequently using AI from a day-to-day basis. Seems like some of you may be, again, kind of dabbling, using it occasionally for work. And then there's still a portion of you that don't really use AI much at all. So no matter where you might be in terms of your overall AI use, I think we can all appreciate the fact that there are multiple ways now which we can kind of help our users be able to take a lot of the things they're doing with AI and make that much easier through some of the features and products we're going to talk a little bit about today. So to kick things off, again, I wanted to sort of talk about what the current state of IT operations is like. So now operations have become more of a cross-domain coordination problem. Your telemetry is spread across networking, security, cloud, applications, and observability tools, just to name a few. And each of those only kind of provides you with partial views in different time windows. Because of this, investigations still follow a process of elimination, but the overall work is slowed down by things like tool switching, having to rebrief your team on everything, and repeated screen shares. Nowadays, teams can spend way too long reaching confidence on what's happening, which in turn just drives up a long mean time to innocence and a delayed remediation process. Observation alone is no longer enough, and in turn, what slows teams down isn't necessarily a lack of alerts or a lack of data, but rather it's converting all of these scattered signals into a confident conclusion and coordinated action across all tools and teams. What we need to solve this problem, however, is what we can do with today's topic, AI Canvas, which creates one shared canvas where agents do the retrieval and correlation and humans govern decisions and change. So whereas in a lot of modern situations, you may ask a simple question to like one of your AI tools, why is my application slow? You may not necessarily get back a straightforward answer right off the bat. It may take some time, may take some digging, may require you to have to pull a lot of data. Well, something like AI Canvas, you'll be able to ask that question, and then by pulling all of the telemetry together in one single view and one shared workspace, you can help better identify where that problem is. So in this example, it's an observability issue. But we talked about Cisco AI Canvas, or mentioned the name a little bit, but let's actually talk about a bit more of what Cisco AI Canvas is. So AI Canvas is the agentic workspace for cross-domain IT operations, bringing together telemetry, operators, and agents into one shared view. Now, we just said on definition of what it is, but I think it's also important to kind of set some guidelines as to what it's not. So AI Canvas isn't just a replacement for any domain tools you may have in your environment already. It's not just a generic dashboard aggregator that pulls all that data in and just gives you some like quick fancy dashboards and statistics. It's not just a chatbot as your primary experience, though there are some tools that we'll talk about in there that function like a chatbot you're probably used to using. And it's not fully autonomous in terms of everything. You actually do have human in the loop options to ensure that you're always getting that degree of human supervision and everything. Through an ecosystem of connectivity, AI Canvas integrates with Cisco, various third-party tools, including a lot of the stuff on the Splunk side, like some of the observability and telemetry systems we have here, and then allows agents to retrieve and normalize all those cross-domain signals from an incident. So evidence from different domains can be compared and reasoned over in one place without manual copy pasting and stitching needing to be done. So to get a little bit deeper into it, AI Canvas is not just, again, chat for operations. It's not just another dashboard. It's a task-specific operational workspace that's designed to help keep all of your evidence together in one place, provide insights into the actual reasoning that's gone behind all of the decisions and information that it's providing you with, giving you a clear path of how it's made all of these specific reasons, and help you to move your overall work forward quicker with governed action. When we talk about AI Canvas, we've sort of created around four major pillars. The first is unifying across domains. The idea being here, obviously, we want to help bring networks, security, cloud, and applications, observability, all of the signals we talked about in that earlier example together in one unified workspace. The second pillar is live collaboration. So again, we talked about at the beginning, it's difficult when you're working across teams and parts of your organization to be able to keep all that information together in one place. With AI Canvas, you have a shared synchronous workspace where operators and stakeholders see the same pinned evidence, timelines, and all of the conclusions you're getting from the whole process in real time together. Third pillar is human in the loop, like I mentioned a second ago. Obviously, we want to have agents be able to help propose and execute some of those core tasks and actions, but at the same time, we obviously realize there is a certain degree where we want to make sure there's always that human in the loop aspect to it. So there's always the option to have an actual person behind the keyboard be able to approve those key actions. And then finally, one of the other major underpinnings here is the Cisco Deep Network Model, which is purpose-built for networking and specialized reasoning, grounded on CCIE knowledge and Cisco U courseware. Give you a little bit of a look at how a lot of this comes together. So I mentioned before, this is a workspace purpose-built for the operator. So obviously, you're going to get a lot of the great stuff you've seen in some other products. You'll have like various widgets, which will help you visualize those core topologies, charts, summaries, whatever they may be. But again, not just the dashboard. You're able to then take all of this in a very shared view, share all of that information across your teams, and collaborate in real time through conversational interface, where you can ask questions to some of the built-in AI options you have here, and then allow those agents to reason through all of that live. You can provide context to everyone else on your team by giving them numbers to reference for any doc uploads or attachments you might have. Then you can also adjust any of the agentic modes you might have. You can have it default for things like quicker answers, or take time to actually reason through things that might take a little bit more of a longer, more thorough investigation process. So now that we've explained a little bit about Cisco AI Canvas, I want to pop another quick poll just to see some opinions here. But does anyone here ever have to run investigations that use multiple Cisco products? Now, this could be everything from using maybe just one or two Cisco products in your environment. Maybe you're also using existing Splunk products, like maybe you're a Splunk platform user, or maybe you've got some investment in, say, Splunk enterprise security, whatever that might be, using multiple of these tools together at one time. Again, kind of curious to see how everyone's using all of that together. Give folks a moment to answer. All right, looks like we've got a majority going on. So our poll results show that, okay, about 75% of you don't necessarily use multiple Cisco products together at one time, but there is a quarter of you here that do. So the great thing about that is AI Canvas will help you be able to take all of that great information you're getting across those multiple products and have that all in one shared workspace, as opposed to needing to pivot between multiple things. Now, you've heard me talk a lot already. I've given a lot of the general high-level overview for everything, but let's get into the meat and potatoes of this a little bit more again. I'm going to pass things off to Lizzie, where she can share a little bit more about how everything works.
Thanks, Cody. So let's talk about what's happening under the hood when you're using AI Canvas. So let's say you come to AI Canvas and, using the example we had before, why are my applications slow? When you put that prompt into AI Canvas, there's a supervisor agent there that thinks about the request that you have and then determines what are the right tools that it needs to call to be able to retrieve relevant information. So how that works is each Cisco product team has registered our MCP servers to AI Canvas so that it can go across the breadth of the Cisco portfolio to pull relevant results back. We also have a few select third-party integrations. So you can see the example here is ServiceNow, where we'd also be able to pull relevant data from there. So in the case of Splunk, so let's say I put in a question and AI Canvas says, okay, this sounds like I need some, let's say log data from Splunk. It'll send out a request to Splunk MCP server, which will then use the Splunk AI assistant on the back end to generate relevant SPL for that query. We'll execute it, and then we'll return the results back to AI Canvas so that you can get a summary, see some key insights. You can see the search results directly as well, and then go from there to continue on your investigation. So because again, Cody was mentioning earlier that the underlying issue may not be immediately obvious, or you may not know right away exactly which product that you need to look through to be able to get the right information. So when you ask a problem or ask a question to AI Canvas, you see some example like, why is our app slow today? What AI Canvas will do is look at any possible relevant product call. So you can see the example in step 2, this column. This is basically showing how it will actually send out the prompt to multiple MCP servers and pull data from each of those to try to figure out who has the most relevant data to help us answer this question. Maybe it's just one, and maybe it's multiple. Maybe it actually needs to correlate results from multiple products together to be able to give you a comprehensive response or answer about the question that you've asked. But once it has kind of farmed out the request to multiple products and gotten those results back, you can then follow up to dig in directly into pinpointing exactly what is the issue. So now you can start drilling in and into more detailed views and asking more targeted questions to try to uncover what the root cause is. And then you wrap it all up by AI Canvas will actually propose next steps on what you should do as a result of the findings in this investigation. So I want to tie this now to Splunk specifically, and what does this mean for Splunk customers and Splunk users? I would wager that, and talking from multiple customers, that this is probably a scenario that you're familiar with today when you are trying to troubleshoot issues that come up in Splunk. You probably get some kind of detection, maybe that is from a Splunk alert, an ES detection, an ITSI episode, or maybe you use a third-party system that fires off alerts and tickets when there are issues. Based on that, you then have to jump into Splunk to try to figure out what's going on. What we've heard is most of the time that usually means starting in a Splunk dashboard so that you can get kind of an overview of what's going on, check high-level systems, see what's happening at this point in time, see if we can identify any trends. Maybe you do some drill downs in the dashboard to dig in a little bit deeper, but usually at some point, especially if it's an issue we haven't seen before, and so obviously we're not tracking it in our dashboard, we need to jump into search to figure out what's going on. Now, some of you are probably SPL experts and know all the data that's in your environment, so you can probably just hit the ground running with some new SPL queries. But for others who don't, they might need to do a little more digging to find, run books that may have samples of SPL queries, or try to find content in Splunk that has queries they can use as starting points. Maybe your organization requires run books that help you follow through steps. And so you're kind of going back and forth between a run book and Splunk to say, okay, here's step 1, let me search this. Here's step 2, let me search this other thing. And often what we also find is usually people are opening multiple browser tabs, each one with a different SPL query, because each one is trying to answer, a different specific question, helping us to narrow down whatever the root cause is. And so this cycle loops over and over until you do eventually figure out what is the root cause. And then from there, have to take action to remediate the issue, but then also summarize everything that you found as part of your investigation, attach all the evidence, with the SPL queries you used and the search results to be able to summarize the incident, report out to stakeholders as necessary. So with this kind of investigative troubleshooting flow, obviously Splunk is so powerful that we're able to do all of this, be able to dig into logs, be able to slice and dice in all the different ways that we need to pinpoint issues. But there are a number of challenges that this does also introduce. So just the time and effort that it takes to get the information you need, right? Whether that is jumping between multiple tools, between multiple different knowledge objects, looking at different dashboards, or maybe just the time to refine and craft and run multiple SPL queries just to get the data that you need in the first place to do your analysis. Then, of course, is the SPL learning curve. And again, some of you may be SPL experts, but we know that a lot of our end users are not, and that this is often cited as one of the challenges in being able to harness the full power of Splunk. Which brings me to the next point. Not everyone knows what the full power of Splunk is. When you have just a blank search box, you may not know everything that you can do, all the different ways that you might be able to extract insights from the logs that you're looking at or analyzing, or the different ways that you can slice and dice data sets so that you can join different data sets together. And then even if you do, you may not know all the data that's available in Splunk. So either you have somehow a list that what's there, or just from tribal knowledge about what information and data is being ingested into Splunk. And then the manual time and effort spent on reporting and sharing updates to stakeholders and leadership about what is going on. And so again, Splunk is really powerful that we can do a lot of really incredible things, but the reality also is that as we're working through these troubleshooting or investigative workflows, we do run into some of these challenges, things that could be maybe improved. And so what I'm going to flip to next is show a quick demo of AI Canvas, specifically with the Splunk integration, working through an investigation. And again, you'll see that the whole investigation is powered by data from Splunk. Starting from Splunk, you can navigate to AI Canvas by clicking the Cloud Control logo or the AI Canvas logo or the AI Canvas. This will take you from Splunk to Cloud Control. This will take you from Splunk to all your Cisco where you can access all your Cisco products. We'll create a new canvas for our investigation. We'll create a new canvas for our investigation, and we'll start by checking if we have any suspicious activities generated the most traffic.
One moment, folks. It seems like we have some audio doubling there. Let me see if I can do a quick adjustment here to fix that. Starting from Splunk, you can navigate to AI Canvas by clicking the Cloud Control logo or the AI Canvas button here. This will take you from Splunk to Cloud Control where you can access all your Cisco products in one place. We'll create a new canvas for our investigation, and we'll start by checking if we have any suspicious activity by seeing which IPs generated the most traffic across our web servers in the last 7 days. When I ask a question that depends on Splunk data, the request goes through the Splunk MCP server, which calls Splunk AI Assistant's Generate SPL skill to turn my question into SPL, execute the search, and return the results back here on the canvas. In order to use Splunk with AI Canvas, you will have to install the Splunk AI Assistant app and the Splunk MCP app in your Splunk environment and apply the appropriate settings and user role capabilities. And you can learn more about this from our documentation. Looks like the assistant is done processing, and we can see in the response the SPL that was generated and executed, a summary of findings, and key insights. It's identified one IP address with significantly more traffic than other IPs. So let's investigate further by finding out what status codes and URLs it tried to hit. You may notice that the widget generated has some familiar aspects, and that is because Splunk results in AI Canvas are represented with Splunk visualizations. While the assistant finishes processing our prompt, let me show you how you can view and edit the SPL without having to go to Splunk or submit a new prompt, and even change the visualization type if you want to see your results in another format. In this scenario, AI Canvas has produced multiple visualizations for us with relevant information to review. Nothing looks suspicious here, and looking at this AI summary, it also confirms that everything looks more or less like normal behavior, but we want to make sure. Let's see if this IP has requested any suspicious or non-existent files. At this point, you may be wondering, how does AI Canvas know how to create the right SPL? As I mentioned earlier, when a prompt requires Splunk data to answer a question, it gets routed to the Splunk AI Assistant. In the Splunk AI Assistant app in your Splunk environment, there are context settings which help the Splunk AI Assistant learn more about your environment, such as learning about your indexes and also learning from the types of SPL that users create. This is how it's able to produce relevant SPL to aid in our investigations. Now that the assistant has finished analyzing the results, we can see that this IP did in fact try to request some suspicious or non-existent files. This is definitely an issue we need to dig into further. So let's try to see what else they did
by asking the AI assistant to search the secure logs for the same IP address and see if it's trying to authenticate anywhere. While the AI assistant is processing my latest question, let's take a look at the other features in AI Canvas. You can open this side panel for access to additional actions on your canvas, such as applying an automatic layout, stacking cards, adding images, or adding annotations. Annotations are especially helpful when you share a canvas with another user because they will only be able to see what's on the canvas and not your chat history. They'll have their own chat history with the assistant. You can share your canvas by clicking the share button in the top right corner and copying the link to share with collaborators. You can see any collaborators you've added here as well. In the canvas, you can pan and zoom around to see the widgets that were previously created, and you can rearrange or resize them as you see fit. You can rename or delete cards that aren't needed anymore. Looks like the assistant has finished its analysis, and looking at the summary, it confirmed that this is a brute force attack. So now we need to find out which hosts did this IP target and which usernames did it try. You may have noticed on this last prompt, the assistant generated multiple visualizations again because it is presenting multiple pieces of information to us. When you ask a question to the AI assistant, it will take multiple turns to get follow-up information that is relevant to the investigation. This environment only has Splunk hooked up, but if there were multiple Cisco products such as Meraki, Thousand Eyes, or others, the AI assistant would route prompts to as many products as were relevant to provide a comprehensive analysis for a question. Now looking at the results from the assistant, we can see that all web servers were targeted and privileged accounts as well. So now we need to know if any of these attempts were successful. As you can see from the investigation so far, with AI Canvas, not only do I not have to know how to write SPL to get answers, but the insights and summaries are bubbled up to me, saving me a lot of time and effort to get the SPL, analyze the results, and pull out the key insights. Of course, these results should all be checked and confirmed, and that's why we make sure the SPL is available for you to review. But we're able to move the investigation along more quickly with the help of AI. Thankfully, these attempts were not successful. But let's see what impact this might have had on the business by asking if there were any signals showing a dip in sales. Yikes, look at that drop off in transaction volume. So we know this did in fact have an impact on activity. Next, we'll want to summarize this so we can share this out with relevant stakeholders. This is where it all comes together. What started as a search for web activity turned into a security event, and we can now tie it back to key business metrics. The ability to ingest different types of data from multiple sources across your business into Splunk is what makes Splunk so powerful for detection and investigation. With AI Canvas, those investigations are supercharged, with AI helping to accelerate it by fetching and correlating data for you to find relevant insights, summarizing the findings, and suggesting next steps. Right. Okay, so hopefully that gave a really great overview of AI Canvas and how it can leverage Splunk to help you accelerate investigations. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Cody to help close us out for today.
Thanks, Lizzie. So again, we've talked a lot about AI Canvas and what it can help you and your team do. So let's talk about a few of the outcomes this helps you achieve overall. So with AI Canvas, you're able to decrease the overall mean time to resolution and mean time to innocence, thanks to the ability of your teams to be able to work quickly and very easily show things like proving fault, reducing unnecessary escalations, and helping with overall cross-team friction by reducing that. It decreases the overall manual toll, making it so your team doesn't have to do a lot of hopping between various dashboards or digging through logs to find everything they might need. Very important one, decreases the overall cognitive load. I mean, your workday is obviously going to be super busy as is, and you've only got so much time in the day and only so much that you can really do. So having this as a tool in your arsenal helps operators consume a single investigative narrative instead of a bunch of fragmented views. And then finally, it helps to decrease reliance on tribal knowledge. You don't have to worry about escalating to like one guy that is the expert in everything. Like Lizzie said earlier, you may not be, say, for example, well-versed in SPL, and you may have the one guy that you always go to that can help you with questions about SPL. No longer a need for that. You can very easily, again, just pull anyone in through a lot of the collaborative elements you have with AI Canvas. As far as what it helps you to increase, this helps you improve overall operator leverage. So you can have one human can supervise more systems and can supervise more systems and manage more incidents due to the power of AI being able to perform a lot of that cross-correlation and reasoning and giving you, again, the step-by-step view into how all of that's being done. So you have a good audit trail of everything. It can help to increase decision consistency, helping investigations follow that same sort of logic every time. So you get very good measured results every time, no matter who it might be that's on call or on shift. And then finally, it can help increase overall confidence in actions. Something for like casual reasoning and explainability can help reduce the overall guesswork and second guessing. So you always have a very direct answer with good evidence as to how all of these outcomes were determined and how you're able to then present all of that to other key stakeholders so they have an idea of everything. And again, you have that full audit trail of showing how all of that reasoning came together for the final part of your investigation. So with that, we're going to do a little Q&A. If you have any additional questions you'd like to ask us, we're going to type those in the Q&A box. Lizzie, I'm going to toss one your way here that I saw, which is the ever important and all perennial question with every one of these kind of presentations is there any additional cost to use AI Canvas?
That's a great question. Checks can be made payable to Lizzie Lee. No, it is free. It's a free add-on to Splunk and Cisco. So whatever entitlements you already have, there's nothing else additional for you to be able to access Cloud Control or AI Canvas.
Another one here, who's eligible to be able to use AI Canvas? Is there any sort of process we have to do to sign up and try it for ourselves?
Yeah, that is a really great question. So at this time, Cloud Control and AI Canvas, Cisco Cloud Control and AI Canvas is in controlled availability for customers that are in the US. For the Splunk integration, our Splunk integration will be available as part of this cloud controlled availability, starting with the Splunk Cloud 10.5 release. So for Splunk customers, that means you will need to be a Splunk Cloud customer on 10.5 in the US in order to be eligible for Cloud Control and AI Canvas. Also, during this time, there is a sign-up process for Cloud Control. So what you'll see is when you upgrade to 10.5 in your Splunk Cloud stack, for admins, you'll see a little banner at the top that gives you a link where you can go and sign up to participate in Cloud Control. Once approved, then you'll be able to hook everything up so that you can have your Splunk environment hooked up to Cloud Control, and then you'll be able to ask questions of your Splunk data in AI Canvas in Cloud Control.
I'll also add one additional bit to that. For those that are interested, if you're wanting to take part in the overall CA process for everything, we'll have some additional information that we'll be sharing on Splunk blog soon that'll kind of walk you through the whole email verification process and what the whole installation process is like for accessing Cisco Cloud Control and AI Canvas by extension. Let's see. Follow-up question to that one is, do we have an expected release date?
Yeah, so great question. I probably should have covered that. So Splunk Cloud 10.5 will actually be released next week. And so, you know, as usual, like you can expect that you'll be upgraded during whenever your scheduled time is. The Splunk Cloud release team should reach out to you 2 weeks before your scheduled upgrade date. But you are also able to request an update sooner if you're interested in trying to get these features sooner.
Right. Let's see. Can I add my own skills and tools in AI Canvas?
Ooh, that's a really great question. So, there are two options that are here in terms of. I'll talk about one thing that's available now and something that is going to come soon. So today, um, you are able to, or coming soon, you'll be able to build agents in AI Canvas in Cloud Control, which can then interact with the data that you have in AI Canvas and Cloud Control. One of the things that we're working on the Splunk side is if you wanted to include any MCP tools as part of your app. So you may or may not be aware that there's an ability to add MCP tools to tools.conf now in your apps. One of the things we're working on is being able to expose those so that, again, in AI Canvas, if you wanted to leverage any of those, you would be able to do so as well. So today, we don't have that ability for you to bring your own, but coming very soon, we will.
All right, thank you for that answer. Another question here for you. So we recently heard Cisco talk about, Cisco Cloud Control. How exactly does AI Canvas fit into that?
Great question. So Cloud Control is like your one-stop shop to be able to access and manage all of your Cisco products in one place. And so obviously as part of that, if you're trying to do an investigation that requires data from all those different places, you can do so with AI Canvas, which is one of the key experiences with Cloud Control. So what you'll see when you use Cloud Control is when you first land there, you'll be landed onto like an assistant page. So similar to a chat where you can just start asking questions about, what alerts do I have today and what do I need to follow up on? And the minute that there's something that you want to investigate, you click, you know what, I want to investigate this in Canvas. It'll take the context of your chat that you've been having and bring it over to a Canvas with you. And you can continue to investigate there with the experience that we saw in the demo today. So what you saw today was AI Canvas in Cloud Control. You can think of them almost like they're not two separate things. AI Canvas is one of the key features and experiences within the Cloud Control platform.
All right. Give folks another minute or two if we have any last minute questions. And if anyone does happen to think of a question, maybe you don't have one right now immediately. Maybe you're sitting there later on, you're having dinner, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, dang, I should have asked this question. Please feel free to reach out. We're happy to answer any questions or thoughts you might have. Always want to hear feedback from folks. It's what helps us drive and develop a lot of the things that we create here at Splunk. So it looks like we are out of questions. So I'll start wrapping things up for today. So again, first off, thanks everyone for taking time to be with us this afternoon and learn a little bit more about AI Canvas. Like I just said, though, we always want to hear more from you guys. If you get the chance, go visit community.splunk.com, where we have additional things like office hours and technical experts where they can help answer a lot of your questions about any of our core Splunk products and features. I mentioned a second ago as well that one of the big things we really appreciate is the fact that we always love hearing back from customers and users because it helps us drive a lot of the things we create. So sections like Splunk Ideas are where we get a lot of ideas or concepts for feature updates we include in a lot of our products. So if there's something you really want to see in the existing product or something you're just maybe not seeing that would like to see upgraded in another capacity, let us know about it. We want to hear more. Follow-up question since it came in here. I know you mentioned this is available for US only. Will it release for Canada shortly afterwards? My team is half in the US and half in Canada.
That is a great question. So it depends on where your Splunk cloud stack is, not necessarily where your users are. So if you have two different stacks, like one in the US and one in Canada, then that is the thing that decides whether or not that particular Splunk cloud stack is eligible or not. With that said, we are working on a regional expansion roadmap so that we have AI Canvas available in more than just the US. I will have to double check with the core team that's handling that on the availability for Canada. Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head.
We can follow back up with that answer once we get the confirmation from some of the other folks in the team. Thanks for the question, and we appreciate it. So a few other upcoming tech talks and office hours we have. On June 29th, you can learn a little bit more about automating threat operations and threat hunting with Recorded Future. A little further into the early parts of July, we have Socket to Me, where you can learn the top 3 benefits of using Splunk Operator on Kubernetes. That'll make an admin's life easier. Later on in July, we've got office hours for Splunk MCP Server, where you can ask our team any questions you might have about Splunk MCP Server. And then finally, we have in early August, how to build and launch AI agents from your Splunk workflows. If any of these sound interesting to you, let us know. We have registration pages available for a few of these now, I believe, and then a few of them will start going live here soon if they haven't already been added. But again, if you enjoyed today's Tech Talk and want to learn more about some other Splunk products, we invite you to come and visit some of these other ones. And with that, we'll wrap things up today. Thank you all again. We appreciate having everybody stop by and learn a bit more about AI Canvas today. Lizzie, any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap things up?
No, nothing really on top of what you said, other than, we hope that you will give it a try. And then, of course, like Cody said, please share feedback with us. And thank you again so much for your time.
All right, folks, we appreciate it. We'll leave the Q&A up for a little bit longer if anybody has any questions they want to ask. But again, if you think of anything later on, let us know. We always want to hear from you guys. But until then, everyone enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch you all later.